every life transformed, we move one step closer to creating a Jamaica where no one is left behind. Beneficiaries, the agencies should thank it for their dedication, patience and commitment. Let us together continue to build Jamaica, one community at a time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for your greetings and for recognizing the contribution of Dr. Horace Chang to this constituency and to Jamaica as a whole. I know he served as my Minister of Housing, and I worked closely with him then. And he was very, very passionate about housing. And I know he's very passionate about you receiving your certificates of title. Now, we will invite the Honorable Dr. Horace Chang to bring greetings. And this will be followed by a cultural item to be done by Beverly Pearson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Let me recognize and welcome our Prime Minister, Honorable Andrew Horace, in Norwood this evening. Of course, with him to worship the Mayor and the executive leadership of the Housing Agency of Jamaica. Especially recognize a number of people that see Pastor Barrett who spoke. I don't see Ms. Headley or Mr. Regan, but I mentioned those names because this is the part of the culmination of a long journey. I recall they've been working together in the scenes. They have been occupying the property for more than 20 years, Prime Minister. And while at some stage we did give the government provide what is called a certificate of possession, the lots were identified and repaired. The certificate of possession doesn't have the legal value that the Jamaican title have. In fact, registered title in Jamaica is called a special system that it uses. It's a very valuable piece of document. In fact, more valuable than several other countries use. Many of us have relative in North America. It's a special process that is used to award the Jamaica title. Called the torrent system. Don't name that so much for you. And part of the project that is insured by government. If anything goes wrong, it's insured by government. And it's one of the few things that carry that weight and titling system. And we recall start discussion here many, many years back. You were here before, until I came in and we met the little building across there. So I said Pastor Barrett was there and on Miss Headley's veranda. I think this is the third titling ceremony, but the other are smaller, so it's good to see this evening 70 plus titles, registered titles, which indicate that more and more families are now seeking to acquire the properties. I think the cost is still in a reasonable area. Certainly nobody would want to offer you that kind of money for your property now. And we have done some good work to bring the infrastructure to main the roads, and more is being done. The water remains an embarrassment and a headache. I'd invite the water company at the same time we are doing something new. The Prime Minister is here, but I don't want to, he will speak to it, but as you're aware, we did a little piece on section across the road here, still section H. The same company is being brought back because several companies came here and made attempts on more than one occasion. People remember Black Brothers started, then YP Seaton, and then Bacchus Brothers. And the difficulty in retrofitting the community, which is a large community, cannot be overstated. It's just difficult to retrofit roughly between here and Providence 7,000 plus houses for farmers. But the company, what have just awarded a major contract, you would have read off in newspaper, Vinci International, to do with the Northwestern Water Resilience Project, which is near $200 billion US. It's a bigger figure than Jamaica, and they are doing the water line from Falmouth. We'll be doing the communities that lead up to the water line. That water line reflects some of the failures of the water commission over the years because it's old and it's falling apart. When that goes on, of course, we don't get any water at all in Norwood or any part of the constituency and the hills of the constituency. So they'll be fixing that line. So it takes some time, but you see a gentleman who did the piece in H, and I think I share your confidence in the company. Mr. Rodriguez, whose field operated, Mr. Gale, who did the section from the scheme out. They should be in here audit to see exactly what's to be done. Sometimes when anybody comes through now, then they see, well, when I use the term informant, never said squatters from day one, but they tell me where do they get all that money from. The fact is that it was hard work and discipline, where I'm aware individuals buy 100 blocks now, put it down, another 100 next until you can buy a few bags of the stone, and it stays at your gate until you got to what is a fine home, is your palace, and you have to commend the citizens here. What we're hoping to do, and I won't be much longer the Prime Minister speak, I'll be here walking with you again still. What this does for you is that when you have your title, all that effort you put in, all that sweat, equity as we used to talk about in the Providence Society, can be realized. Because once you have your road, light is in place, and we have to do some improvement on that as well, and you have water. The value of property is almost reflected, goes to a level where the effort you put in cannot be reflected in the value of property. Because before you had all of that, they would still have no title, having no infrastructure they want to. Well, it's informal, I can't pay anything for it. You can't even pay for the value of the work you put in there. Now that you have infrastructure and you're getting registered title, the value of a house can be reflected. It is, as some would say, the same kind of value having Pearl Garden, because your location is excellent. You're near to the airport, you're near to the highway, and you have a highway down the road. And with all of that in place, you are a residential community, and we are keeping the peace. We had issues, we discussed them, but I think last year we celebrated 2 years without a single murder in Norwood. And you have police officers here. The commander is Mr. Superintendent, Mr. Aaron Samuels. He's a strong but professional police officer. I have not heard of any serious complaints about any police abuse or arrogance to this law-abiding citizens of Norwood in many neighborhoods. I understand they operate with good community relations, and we have not had any homicide murders for a long time. We keep it that way, and I said you will certainly be able to realize the value of the effort you put out in here. And I conclude and remind my Prime Minister, we used to meet here in small groups. Every Sunday evening once a month, Mr. Barrett at Nestberry Tree. Right? And on Miss Headley Veranda, another Sunday evening. And Mr. Barrett used he had a little power supply. We would meet early enough, but the other little telco plant. Miss Headley used the Tilly lamp, a home sweet home lamp. And we discussed this issue, the challenge you face until we got some power supply, and eventually trying to get the infrastructure in place, which included water, which was never properly connected, and we hope to do that now. But again, let me say I express my own personal appreciation for the effort of the Housians to get you registered titles. Those available, I have to commend the citizens who have been patient, but have also now seen enough to extend and their savings and acquire their property. They pay us a price for it, but your value is now there, and we expect to proceed with even more. And now they said we identified what is one of Montego Bay's final residential community. I said, Prime Minister, when I do scholarship at tertiary college, I said, comes down there. If I allow them, everybody gets, now would absorb all the funding to go to college. They are ambitious, honest, hardworking people here and productive Jamaicans. We'll be building pretty near to you, beside the highway coming. We intend to put a STEM school near here, which means your bright students who used to send off to Monroe and to Campion elsewhere will have a school better than those right here that now students can go to in the STEM school. I'm looking if we can get a primary, but so far I said we have not yet but you have a number of schools to get there, but the kids are bright and the STEM school will be in particular benefit to them. But again, it's not by even the Prime Minister here. It's part of briefing. He doesn't visit off as I'd like him to, but he says, since I'm here, he doesn't have to visit off, but we are happy to have him here this evening. I know the system now is pleased to have you, Prime Minister, and we're very happy to receive their registered titles, and we'll continue working to ensure Norwood be established in name, as it is nature, one of the finest residential community in and around Montego Bay, some of the most productive, hard-working, capable Jamaicans in this community. Again, let me thank the House Agency on your behalf, Chairman and Executive Manager, and our Prime Minister for coming this evening to deliver again to our citizen Norwood. My friends here now have a registered title, their piece of paper, land paper that they can call their own, keep as their own, and use as one of their major assets in the development and in their own personal development. Again, thank you and welcome. Good to have you here.
Let me say pleasant evening to our Prime Minister and the other government officials, ladies and gentlemen. One culture we have here in Jamaica is that we try to look out for one another, don't it? Yes, and so this evening I just want to encourage us to continue on that same path. And also, let us pray for each other. Let us hold up the hands of each other as we travel day by day. I pray that this song will bless your hearts. If you've got a problem, I'd sure like to share. There's one special way I can show you I care. I can offer opinions that might prove untrue, but the only sure answer, here's what I'll do. Let me talk to my Father for you. And if I know my Father, here's what he'll do. He will let your feet all the things you pursue. It's no bother, for my Father will do it for you. I have never prayed fire down from the skies, but my God sees each tears that ever fell from these eyes. And if you've if I know my Father, here's what he'll do. He will lay at your feet all the things you pursue. It's no bother, for my Father will do it for you. Let me talk to my Father for you. And if I know my Father, here's what he'll do. He will lay at your feet all the things you pursue. It's no bother, for my Father will do it for you. It's no bother, for my Father will do it for you.
Please give her a heartier clap than that. So we would have heard Dr. Horace Chang spoke about the good old days when he was trotting through these areas, doing his work with the community. And of course, he highlighted the fact that you displayed a lot of discipline in building up the community. And the efforts that you put in are being reflected today. What caught my ears most though was the fact that he mentioned in 2 years you have gone without a single murder in the community, and that is commendable. It tells me that social cohesion is taking place here. You're all working together, and as our performer said, you're displaying brotherly love. You're taking care of each other. So once again, thank you all for coming. Thank you all for working to build up this community. It is now time for me to invite Dr. the Most Honorable Andrew Holness, Prime Minister, to come to the lecture.
Thank you very much, Doreen, for your introduction. Allow me to acknowledge the host pastor, Pastor Paul Barrett, and thank him for his prayers and kind wishes for me and my family and government. Allow me to acknowledge your Member of Parliament, my Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of National Security, the Honorable Horace Chang. With us is our Mayor, Mr. Norman Brown. You know him very well as well, the Chairman of the HAJ. And allow me also to acknowledge our Master of Ceremonies and the Managing Director of the HAJ, Doreen Prendergast, someone who is very much invested in seeing to it that you get your titles and that your community is regularized. She has been working in this area for a long time, since Minister Chang was Minister of Housing, and that was some time ago. It is truly a pleasure to be with you this afternoon. Your community is a case study of a community that is transitioning from informality to formality. You are the epitome of ambition, hard work, and the drive to uplift yourself. The Norwood community has done so well. There has been significant infrastructural investment in your community to put in roads, sidewalks, curbs, to make provision for electrification, to do some amount of regularization. The big problem you have now is water. There have been several government interventions, as I've mentioned, to put in the infrastructure. I know that pipes have been laid in some of the roads that have been constructed, but I am told that the pipes are not connected. Some of these pipes are laid maybe 20 years ago. And so when I was doing my preparations to address you, that was one of the things that was flagged. And so in discussion with your member of parliament, last night actually, we decided that we would mobilize the NWC to come and take a look here to see exactly what the issues are, to make the necessary connections, and to ensure that you have water. I gather that one of the blocks have had no water for an extended period of time. That cannot continue, and it must be addressed, and I intend to ensure that the NWC is here in short order to look at the problem and bring a solution to the problem. But we're here today to discuss the handing over of 70 titles to persons who have paid off for their property. Some of you have paid off for a long time ago, and we are now at the point where we can hand them over. Now, the titling process can be a very complicated one. It requires that your property be surveyed. You have to sometimes get an attorney to pursue some of the issues. Sometimes the boundaries come into conflict and they have to be resolved. And all of this comes at a cost. So even if you have paid off for your property, meaning that the land that you are on, you have paid for the cost of it, sometimes people don't even bother to go and get the title. They hold on to the receipts and they say, at some point in time, when I have title. And this, kind of informal way of addressing titles means that you could have generations living on the land and there's no title. We have seen situations where other people have come and found ways of getting title for the land that you have been living on. We have seen situations where people just turn up and say, this was, my land, I have a letter of possession that was given to me, and, I don't know how you get on this land. So it's very important that you secure your land through a titling process. And what the government has done to facilitate this is that we have amended the various legislation to put in place something called systematic registration of titling. And what that has done is to accelerate titling. So we are not waiting on persons to come to get their titles. What we have done is to declare an area for systematic titling. And we pay for a land surveyor to go into that area, and they do all the surveys, and we put in place an adjudication committee that should there become any disputes between neighbors and property owners, there is a committee that is comprised of a justice of the peace, prominent persons in the community, who can draw very easily on the history of the community to make a determination as to where the boundaries fall. And it has worked very well. Since April 2021, over 12,500 titles have been issued And we have done that in a few parishes in St. Elizabeth and St. Catherine. And very soon, we intend to scale that up to make it an island-wide endeavor where we will be designating areas and having those titles be prepared and handed over instead of waiting for persons to come and try to get titles for their land. Now, just to make a comparison, in terms of what is called the ad hoc titling, meaning persons going to the NLA to get titles based upon their own initiative, over that same period of time, from April 2021 to now, only 7,000 titles essentially would have been issued on the ad hoc process, where someone would say, you know what, I am going to pursue getting my title registered, compared to almost doubling that under the systematic, where when we go out and process the titles. Now, under that, when we do the systematic registration, we help the landowner by paying for the survey and the legal fees. And at some point, of course, it's a loan, it's not a gift that the beneficiaries of that facilitation would repay. Now, the HAJ has several titles in its vault. I don't know where your vault is, but I know you have thousands of titles in your vault. Some of those titles can't be issued because the persons who are the beneficiary of the titles, they haven't finished paying for the land. So we can't hand you over your title and you still owe on the land. But we have looked at it and we have said, what is the benefit of depriving someone of their title for a small amount owed? So what we have said is that we're going to write off any amount owed that is 150,000 or less, so that people can get their titles now for, not having to be deprived of their title because there's a small balance owing. And so in short order, we will be notifying those persons who qualify that they can get their titles. Of course, at my last event, where I was handing over some titles in a place called Naysbury Grove, I pointed out, or it was pointed out to me, that it was not fair for someone who has been paying, right, that they are going to get, someone who, or rather someone who has not been paying, who paid nothing at all on their title. Because, some people bought the land 30, 40 years ago when it was being sold for $150,000. And they paid nothing on it. And someone who has been working hard and making their payment and only owe 40,000 of the 150,000, right? They get the same benefit. The same amount is written off. And I think there's a kind of unfairness there. So what we are eventually, I think, Chairman, deciding to do is that we're going to definitely write off those persons who have paid or have demonstrated that they're paying, but they still have that amount of less than 150,000. We will write that off. But those who owe and haven't paid anything, well, we're going to have a discussion with you. Yes, we have to have a discussion with you. You have to come in and bring in something. I think that is fair. You don't think so? I think that is fair. So we're going to work out the system to ensure that there is fairness both ways. That people who work and pay and struggle, right, they should get the write-off. But those who haven't done anything, we have to have a conversation with you about what we can get from you to show your interest and equity in the land. But there's another reason why the titles that are held by the HAJ have not been delivered to the beneficiaries and the owners. The government, under Operation Pride, would have pledged some of these titles, used them as collateral for a loan from the NHD to complete some other Operation Pride schemes. One of them come to mind readily is a development in Boscobel. And the HAJ essentially was saddled with a $3.49 billion loan, of which titles, some of your titles, would have been used as collateral. So on the title there would have been the endorsement of a loan from the NHD to the HAJ for which your title was pledged. And so the government couldn't hand over the title to you. Now, what we have done since 2016, we have paid down that loan. We have paid about $2.6 billion back to the NHD. And what that has done is to free up titles. And that is why you see us now being able to deliver titles, because the lien that was on some of those titles would have been taken off because we have paid down that loan. You see the difference between this administration and other administrations? We run the country well so that we don't have to go and borrow to do the development, which then deprives you of some of the benefits that you should get. So now we are in a position where not only can we give you the titles for small balances owed, write those off, but whatever lien were on the titles before, we can remove those liens because we have paid down the loan that the previous government had taken out on your title. And so today, yes, today is the result. Today is the result of that you can get your title. Now, getting your title is the greatest security for your property, right? Now, I know a lot of people, when they get their title, they put it in a little Ziploc bag and they put it in a folder, and some people put it, under their mattress. Some people have secret hiding place. Some people lock it up in their safe, and some people fold up the title and don't look back at it for years. And when they finally go and look at it, when they take up the paper, it's a crease that it just break apart. Right? Because that is how much you protect your title. And I encourage you that when you get your title, it's very important that you keep it in a safe place and that you treat it with care, because it is indeed an important document. And we know in today's world that there are people who will try to copy the title, duplicate it, fraudulently reproduce your title. So you have to be very careful in protecting your title. I should say, however, that the NLA is far advanced in moving towards digital titles, because we are living in a digital world. So eventually you will have the paper-based title, but we are also going to be moving towards now having your digital title, that the necessary security, cyber security, will be around it so that it can't be duplicated and misused. So ladies and gentlemen of Norwood, let me congratulate those of you who have worked very hard, paid off for your lands, and you are now officially ready to receive your title, and that I am certain will advance your own development, that of your household and your family. And I must commend you that for 2 years, no murders in a community that was once considered an area plagued with murders. I offer you to consider this. In 2016, 2017 thereabouts, we estimated that there were about 20 communities that were essentially in an internecine war, gang wars, where murders were increasing each year on year. I ask you to think of one community now where this is the case. Think carefully. So from 2017, 2018, 2019, you had communities in Westmoreland, right here in St. James, in Kingston and St. Andrew. And we could name them. I don't want to name any communities to put any stereotype on them or stigma. But you could easily name them. Communities in which the murders are rising year on year, and there's an internecine gang war going on. But think about it and tell me the community now. We put in place the zones of special operations that intervened in the situation in Westmoreland. So we have a zone of special operation in Westmoreland. Look at Westmoreland today. Right here in St. James, we have 2 zones of special operations, Mount Salem and here. Look at the area now. In Kingston, we have Minister of National Security. Remind me of the ones in Kingston. I haven't dealt with it in such a time. But I believe we have Augustown and Denham Town, and we have Greenwich Farm. Greenwich Farm, yes. And Parade Gardens. So we have 4 in Kingston. And those were the communities that were problematic. But we have put in place the zones of special operations. And it has had an impact nationally. And that is what has happened. So the geographically based, concentrated criminal activity in communities like Norwood and Mount Salem, that has gone all the way down. It's a far more peaceful community now. Peaceful to the point where lands that were abandoned right here in Norwood, the HAJ is reporting that people are coming back to claim their land, and people even want to buy land here in Norwood from the HAJ. That is what peace does. Peace creates a dividend for everyone. When we give you your title, we are reinforcing you to be wardens of the peace, because it is in your interest that peace reigns in your community. In your interest. So the peace building initiative, through the various crime prevention and crime arresting initiatives, goes hand in hand with the dignity and the economic security building that we are doing in issuing you your title. And so today, it gives me great pleasure to hand over to you, the 70 beneficiaries of Norwood, your titles. God bless you, and thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Prime Minister. The Prime Minister recognizes that this is a community in transition, and so he would have spoken to the efforts the government is making to ensure that you have the basic infrastructure that you deserve. He also pointed us to some of the measures the government is putting in place or has instituted to increase the number of certificates of title that are being handed out, that are being provided. And he spoke to the systematic registration process. And that is one of the most interesting programs that the government has, because they come into a community and it's like in large scale, they do the surveying of the properties, and you are able to get your certificates of title at very reasonable costs. It also factors in the cost, and it's not the usual cost, it's very reasonable. He also mentioned the fact that there are digital titles, and I know some of you who are tech savvy maybe looking forward to your digital titles to come in some time to come. But he also spoke to the security measures that the government is undertaking in communities like Norwood and elsewhere. And he pointed to the fact that peace creates a dividend for everyone. So today, you're not only going home with the certificates of title, but because you have maintained the peace, you have got added dividends. Please clap yourselves. Miss Ormsby, I see you're already with the certificates of title, so I'm going to now invite you. Miss Ellington is here, our senior legal officer, Miss Ellington. She comes forward as well to assist. And we're going to invite the Prime Minister and Dr. Chang to come forward as Miss Ormsby calls the names. Miss Ormsby, you're coming to call the names, and the certificates will be handed out. Yes, they have to. I need the men to. Move it up, Miss Ormsby can. Miss Ormsby can.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am. Miss Julia Roddock, Lot 603. Julia Roddock. Kenrick Malcolm, Lot 6. Jocelyn and Dejanay Dobson. Dobson, go ahead for me, please. Javoy Richardson. Dobson. O'Neill Elson. O'Neill Elson. Tashari Pugh. Tashan Pugh. Come this way. Ivette Green. Rosemary Edmondson. Derica Henry. Henry. Hold on, Miss Henry. Hold on. Jamar Mason. Ben. Just an announcement. Just an announcement, please. Beneficiaries, I'm just asking you to just walk along the sides and not straight down the middle, please. Thank you very much. Arnold Fletcher and Simone Fletcher. Lillian Marl, Pete Marl. Violet and Dalbert Dendy. Maiselin Fagan and Michelle Mary. Francis Lake. Francis Coke. Sorry about that. Francis Coke. Vincent Campbell, Stephanie Campbell. Michael Bennett, Howard James. Carrie Nicole. Garfield Morgan. Thank you, PM. Thank you, Dr. Chang. I now ask the MP Chang, and Councillor Joshua Cummings Desmond Gray, Murdoch Craig Gray. Romaine Myers. All right, thanks, Miss Ellington.
Mr. Myers, Romaine Myers. Is it not here? All right. Darren Luke. Tariq Petgrave and Meredith Comrie. She's coming. She's coming. She's coming. Alicia and Heartland Hood. Okay. Deidre Hibbert. She's coming. Claudette Claire, Andrea Hay. Janet Eccles, Carol Forbes, Chevelle Kane, Leach, sorry. Barbara Robinson, Andre Chin, Mabel Francis Hines, O'Neill Hines, Garfield Simpson, Opal Simpson, Ingrid Williams, Kenisha Walters, Kirk Bowen, Owen Murray, Verona Scott, Kevin Dixon, Latoya Thompson,
Kadel Hines and Delroy Brown. Allison and Mark Jemison. Thank you, MP Chang and Councillor Cummings. I now invite His Worship the Mayor, Juliet Manderson, Elaine Pennicott, Amos and Laverne Bowen, Karima Ellis, Delrose Robinson, Rayon Evans, Mrs. Thompson Sterling, Carmenita Duncan, Carmenita Duncan, and Anne McGee. Thank you, His Worship and Mr. Cummings. Chairman Brown and MD? No. Chairman Brown and MD. Bruce Reed. And Joseph Lloyd. MD? That is it. MD?
All right. I want to thank all the persons who participated in the handing over of the certificates of title. We are going to invite, I don't know if we can do that in here today. We normally take a photograph with all the recipients. But I don't know, is it possible? All right, I'm going to call all the recipients after we do the vote of thanks to come forward and take a photograph with the Prime Minister and your Minister and your Member of Parliament. Thank you. Now we're going to ask Lorraine Bowen, one of the beneficiaries, to come and move the vote of thanks. Then we'll have the photograph thereafter. And we have some refreshments at the back for you all. So please do not rush out without taking some. All right, thank you. Lavanya is not Lorraine, is Lavanya Bowen that will be doing the vote of thanks. Thanks for the correction.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Most Honorable, our Prime Minister, Dr. Chang, and all members of the board. I, Lavani, gave a special thanks. But before I go further, let me tell you, I am the one who had initiated Pastor Barrett. I have walked over hills and valleys and Mr. Reagan to come and join us as a party, as a people, to form a community organization. I don't know how Mr. Barrett didn't remember I was the one who was at his home asking him to come and make us be a body and form. And after I went and got Dr. Chang and I was behind him, we didn't have any light, we didn't have any road. And Dr. Chang, I wouldn't leave him. Even when there was a man at JPS named De Silva, I asked him to go and get him for us to get road and light. And with Mr. Barrett. So I was the one who walked over Norwood Hills and Valley, getting the people together to make us this community here now. I rest my case. Doctor, do you remember me? We, the people of Norwood Garden, we are elated and we are very glad to have you. First and foremost, our deepest gratitude to our chief guests, Mrs. Prendergast, again, and Mr. Brown. You don't even remember me either. I used to be there, yes? And we used to walk over hills and valleys. Madam Speaker, again, I commend you. We the people of Norwood Gardens, especially Section H, oh, forgive me, your presence has truly evaluated the significance of this ceremony. The word and appreciation and the holding on of the people. Let me use my own words. The people, how they come together, gather together to make this event, and especially this MP, Joshua. He works with us and he talks with us. And when we give him a problem, people, he said, no problem. That's when we know it's a problem, but he did not get mad.